Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.
Vaccines normally go through a trial period before they're approved for use among the general public. But a woman who worked on testing Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine reported several issues that occurred during the clinical trial period. She said she was fired within hours of reporting the problems to the FDA. NTD's Jason Perry has the story.
Brooke Jackson has worked in clinical trials for over 15 years. She worked for Ventavia Research Group during Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine trial period. The company operated several sites for the trial. Jackson told the British Medical Journal that she witnessed several problems, including the falsification of data and concerns for patient safety. She reported the issues to her supervisors, but over time she felt that her reports were being ignored, so she began taking pictures of her findings. Jackson listed 12 concerns she had in a message to the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, in September 2020. Within hours of notifying the FDA of the issues within the trial of the Pfizer vaccine, she was fired. The FDA later announced emergency use authorization for Pfizer's jab. Jason Perry, NTD News.
Britain on Thursday became the first country in the world to approve the potentially game-changing COVID-19 antiviral pill jointly developed by Merck and Ridgeback Biotherapeutics. The drug is believed to reduce the risk of death by half. Matthew Laratonda reports.
The United Kingdom has become the first country in the world to approve the much heralded COVID pill developed by pharmaceutical giant Merck. The oral antiviral drug made headlines last month when testing data suggested that it could lower the chance of being hospitalized or dying from COVID by half for the people most at risk from the disease if it's administered early on in the illness, within 5 days of symptoms appearing. The pill was developed jointly by Merck and a company called Ridgeback Biotherapeutics and is one of several pills being developed by the pharmaceutical industry to treat the virus. Oral treatments are seen as a potential major weapon in the fight against the disease. Last week, the company also reached a deal with a United Nations initiative which will allow the pill to be manufactured as a generic version for developing countries.
Panic buying seems to be getting worse in China, with people even fighting in stores. And the CCP virus is spreading again to almost 20 provinces. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has the story.
Panic buying continues in China and seems to get worse. The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP virus, spread to about 20 provinces in the country on Thursday. On Wednesday, more than 100 people tested positive for the virus. This, according to state-controlled media. We cannot verify the numbers, but in China, it's commonly believed that the real number is often higher than the official reports. Even if Beijing underreported the numbers, this would still be a big change to the so-called zero-case policy that led to extremely strict pandemic control measures. Earlier this week, amidst the rising cases, Chinese authorities suggested residents should stockpile. This rare move seemed to trigger even more concern and uncertainty. According to local media in Zhengzhou City, customers used to place their items in bags, but now they are filling their carts to the rim. And they are not only buying food, but also laundry detergent, toothpaste, toilet paper, and disinfectant. One of the customers told local media she had already bought 150 pounds of rice and the same amount of flour. Her reason? She says the authorities suggested that citizens stockpile, and she also feared that she would not be able to go out to shop while under lockdown. The same is happening in many other areas around the country. People even fight with each other while panic buying. Rice is one of the most wanted foods right now. A customer from southwest China's Chongqing city says that all noodles, rice, and even eggs are sold out. China's nuclear threat level has more than doubled compared to 2020, according to a recent assessment from the Pentagon. In the Defense Department's annual China Military Power Report on Wednesday, it estimated that the accelerating pace of the PLA's nuclear expansion may enable the PRC, People's Republic of China, to have up to about 700 deliverable nuclear warheads by 2027. And by 2030, the report says, the PRC likely intends to have at least 1,000 warheads. This new estimated figure is a sharp increase from what the DoD projected just last year. In its 2020 report, the Pentagon warned that the Chinese arsenal would top 400 by the end of the decade. That's more than a twofold difference compared to the DoD's current projections. The report also says that China may already have developed the ability to launch ballistic missiles from land, air, and sea, and points out that China is clear in its ambitions to be competitive with world-class military powers like the U.S. Though China's nuclear power is still dwarfed by the U.S., the United States has a stockpile of 3,750 nuclear warheads. On Thursday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry commented on the Pentagon's assessment. It said the report is full of prejudice and is based on gossip.
In a central Chinese province, 6 provincial ministries co-released price tags for donated organs. While many criticize the move as unethical and say it encourages crime, an expert investigator tells us the Chinese Communist Party has been harvesting organs for quite some time.
6 provincial ministries in the central Chinese province of Henan co-announced a list of fees provided for organ donations. Under the list, patients have to pay a so-called donated organ acquisition fee. That's more than $40,000 for an adult liver, more than $15,000 for a child's liver, more than $25,000 for a single kidney, and nearly $36,000 for both. U.S.-based news outlet Radio Free Asia quoted Professor Yang Haiying from Shizuoka University in Japan as saying the announcement may encourage severe social problems such as killing for organs, kidnapping, and murder. The head of the World Organization to investigate the persecution of Falun Gong, Dr. Wang Jiyuan, raised another issue. The global community has long held deep concern about the source of organs for transplantation in China. China's domestic organ harvesting industry has soared since 1999, with China soon becoming the second largest in the business worldwide. But the origins of large numbers of those organs remain unknown. In 2006, in the U.S., 2 witnesses exposed a lucrative business of the CCP, mass harvesting organs from Falun Gong practitioners in China. For many years, allegations of the CCP's organ harvesting have been included in human rights reports from the United Nations, the U.S. Department of State, and Congress. Multiple countries, including the U.S., Australia, Canada, Taiwan, and EU member states, have passed resolutions condemning CCP's organ harvesting. Some have passed laws prohibiting their citizens from organ transplant tourism in China. As more eyes turn to the CCP's organ harvesting crimes in prisons and labor camps, Wang says the official announcement may have been designed to distract the public.
First, it diverts the attention from questioning the Chinese Communist Party's illegal organ transplant practices. Second, these price tags clearly say organs can be traded. According to our investigations, the CCP has been collecting fees for organs the whole time.
According to a phone conversation record provided by an investigator, a hospital in Henan charges nearly $94,000 for a liver transplant. Following is the phone conversation between the investigator and a doctor from the hospital's office from years ago. That's not only in Henan province. More proof emerged from the southwestern province of Sichuan. An investigator pretended to search for an organ from a Falun Gong practitioner, as the organs from these people are considered to be of high quality. Here's the phone conversation with the doctor.
就是想让他帮我找一个就是那种法轮功的那种器官，因为我觉得花钱也值得嘛。
其实大家都觉得值得，都愿意花钱的哈。你的那些心态都理解哈。
那咱们这个正常，如果就是那种做一个手术那个流程下来，大概得需要多少钱呢？
这个不一定，我现在不能跟你说哈，有好的，有不好的，但光是供体费我们省医院是15万，我只能跟你说这个哈。
Hundreds of people gathered outside of Chicago's Thompson Center to protest the government's COVID vaccine mandate. They say that the mandate is an invasion of privacy, divisive, and totalitarian. NTD was on the ground.
Around 500 people came together to protest Illinois vaccine mandates in downtown Chicago on November 3rd. Children's Health Defense organized the event.
My husband is one of the 41 stripped officers in Chicago. What that means is he had to give up his gun and his badge, and he's at home. They won't let him work. He's not getting paid because he will not comply with the city's request or requirement that they let their health portal know whether he's vaccinated or he's not vaccinated.
Giampa's husband served the Chicago police for 28 years.
There is no scientific or ethical reason for a mandate for a vaccine that does not stop transmission or even decrease transmission. No one else should be coerced into taking it.
Holmes says divides are growing among professionals.
It creates a lot of division. We've lost a lot of professionals, both in healthcare, within the police force, within the fire departments.
The corporate media has sort of encouraged that division, by putting out a lot of information about it being a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and have censored and restricted other information.
One of the speakers at the rally, Dr. Jacob Ozzie, speaks about the danger of vaccines to children. He also said the mandate is a violation of one of the Nuremberg codes, which requires voluntary consent of the human subject on medical experiments.
But there's lots of research that shows that the vaccine itself is more dangerous than COVID for children, and so there's this steady stripping away of rights and responsibilities and more control. So the only vaccines that are available are experimental. Coercing somebody to take part in a vaccine trial or a medication trial is really a violation. Well, it's a Nuremberg violation.
The speakers of the rally call for everyone to stand up to tyranny and say no to vaccine mandates.
San Francisco requires people 12 or older to show proof of receiving a COVID-19 vaccine to enter certain indoor places like gyms and dine-in restaurants. On Tuesday, the San Francisco Department of Public Health stated that the mandate will be updated to include kids aged 5 to 11. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
I'm outside of the San Francisco Department of Public Health, who announced this week in a town hall meeting that the city's indoor vaccine mandate will be expanded to include children ages 5 to 11 within the coming months.
But then at some point, 5 to 11-year-olds will also have to show proof of vaccination to access some of those same settings.
The health department stated in a tweet on Wednesday that they expect the vaccine to be available for kids 5 to 11 later this week.
We definitely want to wait and make sure that children have an opportunity to get vaccinated. So that will happen no sooner than about 8 weeks after the vaccine is available to kids.
The current mandate in San Francisco requires anyone 12 or older to show proof of vaccination before entering certain businesses like restaurants and gyms or events like basketball games. The mandate has been in effect since August 20th. The city also required all of its employees to be vaccinated by November 1st, which was on Monday. Jason Blair, NTD News, San Francisco.
Senator Rand Paul and Dr. Anthony Fauci are again sparring over gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. The senator wants Fauci to take responsibility for funding the research, while Fauci continues to deny it. NTD's Don Ma has more.
During Thursday's meeting of the Senate Committee on Health, Senator Rand Paul accused Dr. Anthony Fauci of misleading the public about the research that NIH had funded at the Wuhan lab.
What we are saying is that this was risky type of research, gain-of-function research. It was risky to share this with the Chinese, and that COVID may have been created from a not yet revealed virus. We don't anticipate the Chinese are going to reveal the virus if it came from their lab.
In an interview before the hearing, the senator told NTD host Bo Davidson what he was trying to achieve.
What happens if it's worse the next time? What if a virus leaks from a lab that has 15% mortality or 50% mortality? All of the evidence now is pointing towards this coming from a lab. If it came from a lab, it could happen again. So really what we need to do is be discussing, should we be doing gain-of-function research? Should the taxpayer be funding it?
Fauci continues to deny that studies done at the Wuhan lab match the definition of gain-of-function research.
The guidelines are very, very clear that you have to be dealing with a pathogen that clearly is shown and very likely to be highly transmissible in an uncontrollable way in humans and to have a high degree of morbidity and mortality, and that you do experiments to enhance that, hence the word EPPP, enhanced pathogens of
So when EcoHealth Alliance took the virus, SHC014, and combined it with WIV1 and caused a recombinant virus that doesn't exist in nature, and it made mice sicker, mice that had humanized cells, you're saying that that's not gain-of-function research?
Fauci says he disagrees with many points the senator made, including his speculation of the origins of the virus.
You have said that I am unwilling to take any responsibility for the current pandemic. I have no responsibility for the current pandemic. The current pandemic, okay? Number two, you said the overwhelming amount of evidence indicates that's a lab leak. I believe most card-carrying viral phylogenists and molecular virologists would disagree with you that is much more likely, even though we leave open all possibilities, it's much more likely that this was a natural occurrence.
Paul says he doesn't expect Fauci to admit that he approved NIH funding for gain-of-function research in Wuhan. He also says that Fauci's repeated denials have made him lose credibility. Don Ma, NTD News.
New York City's anti-riot unit dissolved a coal miners' protest in Manhattan. The protest is part of a labor strike that has been going on for months now. NTD's Arian Pazdar was on the scene.
Coal miners from all over the U.S. came to New York City to support their colleagues in Alabama. It was a peaceful protest, but because some of them illegally blocked the street, they're now being taken away by the police.
Since you have refused to leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest on a charge of disorderly conduct.
The protest was held in front of investment company BlackRock, which is the main investor of a major coal producer in Alabama. Workers in Alabama waived their salaries and holidays with the promise to eventually be reimbursed, but now they aren't getting it back. So the workers feel abused.
They felt as though that they were in it with the company, and then the company is only in it to make huge profits and didn't care about the folks that actually go to these coal mines.
Protesters say the BlackRock investors have no idea what it's like working in those mines.
They just need to go into mines to really realize what you have to go through in this life. It's a rough job. It deteriorates your body, you know. So I've had neck replacements and everything since I've been hurt.
But, you know, it's easy to sit up in that building right there and do what they do for 50 years and never get hurt.
But why are they protesting at the investors and not at the employer's office?
BlackRock tells them what to do.
Demonstrators came from as far away as Texas all the way to New York to support their fellow miners.
And I'm here to support my sisters and brothers from the South.
Even though it isn't their problem.
These guys down there are working just like we used to work in the mine. We're retired now, but these guys are trying to work, making a living for their family. They got kids at home. We know what it's like.
BlackRock didn't get back to us with a statement before broadcast. Arian Pastar, NTD News, New York.
In Paris, parents protested against mask mandates in schools and the push for children to get the COVID-19 vaccine. They say the government is trying to interfere with decisions that parents should make. NTD's David Vives has the story.
Masks are back at primary schools in certain areas of France. The French government spokesperson said the stricter rules will be implemented in departments where COVID-19 cases had risen above 50 per 100,000 inhabitants. Dozens of protesters demonstrated against this measure and also against vaccines being pushed on children. Children over the age of 12 in France required to have a health pass to participate in daily activities such as sports. The health pass serves as proof of vaccination. a negative COVID test, or a recent recovery from COVID.
The measures are not proportional to the pandemic. We've also seen some children get myocarditis after the jab, so the benefit of a vaccine is not clear.
The protesters, many of whom are parents, say that the government's measures regarding to children take the responsibility away from them.
They say they should be the only ones to decide what's good for their children.
There really is government interference in family matters. For example, if one parent wants their child to be vaccinated, but the other refuses, the child can be vaccinated. In some cases, this had terrible consequences.
Flore Lelache is a Versailles-based lawyer who works with families who have issues with school mandates. She supports this particular point, saying she's seen heartbreaking situations where children don't want the vaccine, but are forced to get it.
There's the issue of parental consent. The children are given a health ID, which allows them to get the jab, even without their parents knowing it.
The French government has so far rejected a vaccine mandate for children, but health pass requirements can severely limit the activities of those who are unvaccinated. Officials in charge of the vaccination campaign say they'll look at the situation in the US and may consider implementing a mandate in the future. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Hollywood star Dwayne Johnson on Wednesday said he won't use real guns in his movies anymore. That's after a cinematographer was shot and killed on set last month. NTD's Chenny Wu has more.
At the premiere of his new blockbuster, Red Notice, Dwayne Johnson offers his condolences to those affected by the fatal shooting incident on the Rust film set.
That was a terrible scenario that happened. I've known Alec for many, many years. He's a buddy of mine, and my heart goes out to the families of everybody who was involved.
Cinematographer Helena Hutchins was killed on October 21st when actor Alec Baldwin discharged a prop firearm. Baldwin had been told the gun did not have live rounds.
It's created a new lens and a new perspective, I think, on how we can operate moving forward.
Some prop guns are non-functional, but many are real guns. Johnson says that in the future, his production company will not use real guns ever again.
We'll take care of it in post, and we won't worry about the dollars, we won't worry about math or what the cost is. I think we're going to do it the right way.
The on-set shooting death reignites safety concerns over prop guns, like the weapon that killed Hutchins. Chenny Wu, NTD News.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to catch all of our programs on TV. NTD Evening News is on every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Find your local NTD channel at ntd.com/TV.